Fact.
Boy, oh boy. 5 years ago, I got a question for y'all. So we know tonight, actually, while we're recording Dynamite, 5-year anniversary, so much has changed in the last 5 years. What would be if we looked at 5 years ago today, right? So say Dynamite just ended, just finished watching the 2 hours. What would have been the bigger shock? And you just said, I don't believe that. I'm going to give you 3 options. Number 1, NXT is on network television by themselves, meaning they are on a network with no other programming on said network. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes would be headlining a WWE pay-per-view this upcoming weekend because there was no PLEs, I think 5 years ago. I think they were still being called pay-per-views. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3, the show we just finished watching, AEW Episode 1, has just signed the second most lucrative deal in wrestling by a long shot. Which one would have been the bigger shocker to you this time 5 years ago?
This time 5 years ago, maybe it would have to be NXT being on its own. I can't pinpoint it, but I would imagine, when did Volume 2.0 start? Was it around 5 years ago, or was it?
Hell no, it was when AEW was tapping that ass and Vince got butthurt and took it from Triple H and said, all right, now I'm doing it in my vision.
But it was in the beginning, so we would have been still pretty hot on NXT. Ooh, I'm still gonna go with NXT having a network deal all on their own, because at that time AEW was hot. Well, we All Elite was hot, so we knew that this product was about to be hot. Then Cody and Roman, okay, whatever. Cody was the person who helped bring All Elite to become to a company. So I'm gonna go with NXT.
I said Cody and CM Punk.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm still sticking with NXT having its own show by itself because,
Okay.
yeah.
Man, I'm gonna go with Cody and Punk on WWE TV headlining, because just from a simple fact, 5 years ago, Punk was so anti WWE, right? Like, I just remember him sitting next to Jay. I think they were at a Comic-Con, and he just was down talking the company. Still hated the company, and I kind of, when Cody was with AEW, I kind of felt like it was almost like a perfect marriage, because it seemed like he was the perfect spokesperson for that company, right? He was on all the TV shows. He was, rallying the troops. He was the guy that got his character over outside of the WWE, right? Like the Cody that we see in WWE was born in AEW, right? And he created that. That wasn't a Vince vision. That was a Cody vision. And so I assume that, Cody at some point would get some kind of, I don't want to say an ownership stake, but I figure he will become like maybe, like a Triple H to Vince. He'll be like Tony Khan's second in command guy, and Punk will be doing this thing in AEW, and AEW will continue to be a growing, thriving company. Not saying that they're not after this nice little TV deal they have, but I expect things to be different for AEW.
I'm switching. I'm going back to, because I didn't realize what the question was.
I haven't even gone yet. You can't switch. No, you said
you,
NXT on the network deal. That was your answer. He said CM Punk and Cody Rhodes headlining a WWE PLE. I'm going AEW. I am 100% going AEW, because for them to have now signed a massive dollar deal, more than WCW had, more than ECW had, TNA, NWA, however you want to look at it. I don't think I didn't see that coming 5 years ago after the first episode. Now, if I would have said, yeah, they're around, of course, I thought they would be around. But to sign the deal they signed, who knows when this deal was signed? It may have been, I'm thinking this deal was signed a couple months ago, for sure. But for them to do that is pretty massive. In wrestling, we know never say never. So, like, say if 5 years ago there was a question of, hey, who would you think is going to headline a WWE PLE in 5 years, CM Punk or Cody Rhodes? I would probably go with, at that time, 5 years ago, I would have went with CM Punk. Because Cody was such a driver of I don't want to say anti-WWE, but alternative WWE. He went on that indie run. Wrestling has more than one royal family. At this point, he hadn't destroyed the throne yet. I don't think that was before the first episode. I don't think that was the first pay-per-view. So we hadn't seen that, but we knew what kind of time he was on. It felt like he was making a concerted effort to beat the WWE. So I would have said CM Punk headlining the PLE if I had to bring it between those two. Between those two, what would you guys have said? Would have been more shocking.
Hold on, I'm so confused here. You just said AEW was the one that you was the most surprised about. And then you just said CM Punk. So are you saying AEW is one?
He meant AEW's deal is what he chose out of the three.
Yeah, I said that already. Right? I said, but then if I'm looking at the CM Punk and Cody Rhodes thing, and I know we are dealing with some technical difficulties with Rhodesia. She is not on her laptop. She's doing the podcast from the phone with the AirPods. It's a whole situation. You probably can hear it in her voice. So she ain't paying attention too much right now. So that's twice already in the first
you
5 minutes.
You
God bless.
Cody, you said Cody and Roman, and I'm thinking, okay, what?
I've never said Cody and Roman.
Yeah. So anyway, so Cody.
I know. And you see, she kept trying to like cut me off when I was talking. Like, just stop. You had your chance.
Hey, listen, Katrina tried to give the kids her prenatal vitamins. Like, instead of giving like the sleep time gummies, she's trying to give them the prenatal gummies. So maybe it's a thing for women to say they get confused.
Stop! Whoa! Hey, is this breaking news? Stop!
Prenatal.
I don't
Why
know
does Katrina have
no?
I don't know why she's taking damn things. I have no idea.
Oh shit! I know why.
Big Daddy. Hey, Big Daddy.
Congrats, brother. Congrats.
Big Daddy.
Next time you go to WWE show, you buying 5 tickets, buddy.
Big Daddy pulling out.
You eating that shit?
Hey, y'all might be hearing about a divorce on the next podcast.
You talking about 25?
Might be hearing.
Yeah, buddy.
Everybody can take prenatal vitamins. Actually, it's probably actually good for everybody to take them because there's a lot of extra vitamins and nutrients that we need in them. So I actually heard from an old wise woman said that you should continue to take prenatal vitamins. But I still changed my answer. I know you said of those two that we had to choose from, I'm still going to say Punk because I know that you've been following wrestling a lot longer than I am, and there is no such thing as never. But I thought hell would have it froze over for Punk to ever go back to WWE. So in my mind, sorry.
And that's exactly what happened too.
Well, when Vince got outed by WWE, that hell was frozen over.
Well, yeah. I feel like the hell froze over. This is a couple things, right? That CM Punk was having such a bad experience at AEW, like, right? Because sometimes, I'm not gonna say it's a shit show, but he thought it was a shit show, right? Because when you're used to a certain structure of what you think good is supposed to look like, right, and it's not done that way, like you're like, okay, this ain't where I want to be. Vince, nasty dirtbag Vince is gone. Okay.
Perfect storm.
Triple H is actually like, hey, man, like that was water on the bridge. I'm a different man now. I'm sure you're a different dude. Let's do business. I'm sure that perfect hell froze over. But to be honest with you, Matt, like, why wouldn't AEW get a bigger deal? Actually, you think about for the first couple of years when they were ticking upwards, right? And they were gaining more and more steam and their viewership and attendance was skyrocketing. Like, right? Like, why wouldn't you think that they were going to get a bigger deal? Because I kind of feel like in some ways they probably took a haircut discount to get on the network originally, right? They got on there as a favor. Hey, we're going to see what you're going to do. We're going to give you some security years. So we're going to try to run it back and see what happened, right? So in the first couple of years, I'm like, all right, why wouldn't they get a bigger deal? Right? The money is there. We know though the TV rights deals are there, right? Because you see what WWE is giving. Not saying that AEW could get what whatever he was getting, but they can get a nice dollar amount, especially for a while, especially when Punk got there. They're getting like over 1 million views. Like them houses is rocking. They thinking about touring. Like they was on the up. So like for me, I knew on their next deal they was going to get an increase because why wouldn't you, right? Like, hey, I'm showing and proving. I'm hot right now. You need to pay me. You need to pay me more.
Because at that time, and that's a perfect segue, let me intro the pod, then we can get into it. Because at that time, it was only episode 1. Because remember, they extended 2 or 3 years ago to another deal from the first deal. So that's why. But let's intro the pod. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling. This is episode, where we at? We on 167 of the TFW podcast. That's Freakin Wrestling. Best kept secret in wrestling podcast. Y'all know how we get down. 3 the hard way. I am Matt. Joined by Rhodesia Underwater, Eshawn killing the game. Leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Like, subscribe. Do all that kind of stuff. Interact with us. Keep moving them algorithms the way we need it. All right. I do want to celebrate pro wrestling. For me, that's what this show's me all about. It's just celebrating professional wrestling. When you think about the three things that I started the pod with, my question to you, it's incredible across the board. Think about NXT being on the CW network outside of the WWE bubble, right? When NXT first started, when it was available to be seen on television, it was on the network, its own network. You can put anything on your own network. Then they transitioned to USA, but it's a combo deal with Raw. Now to see the CW sign them, and there's no other WWE programming on CW, that's a major, major deal. They had a strong episode yesterday. Of course, we'll get into that too. We're recording this on Wednesday. You guys listen to it on Thursday, so 2 nights ago. And then to think about, and yes, the deal is not strong from a dollar perspective. They're getting about $20 to $25 million a year on the CW. You know, so it's a 5-year deal, $125 million at the top of that deal. For just NXT, though, that is something to celebrate. You think about the beginning of how NXT started on the show Tuesday night. And I had put the photo up. We were in attendance. We'll get into that too. And put the photo up of Shawn Michaels and Triple H in the ring. And I just said, if you've been watching from day one, you know how special that moment is. It was special because if you don't know, Triple H was the one that started NXT. WWE was so bad. This is my story. WWE was so bad. Triple H said, we got to figure this shit out. So when Vince does get up out of here, we got something we can hang our hat on. The real story is he started NXT because they needed a training ground, because they had, you know, at that time, think about where we were when NXT first started. The Indies were damn near dead. Of course, the Indies are thriving now, but the Indies were damn near dead. And Triple H just felt like, look, we got to figure this out. We need to have a breeding ground for talent. We need to have a pipeline for cameramen, for announcers, for all that, so the next generation can thrive. And it also helped, too, that NXT was the perfect alternative to what we were getting from main roster WWE. It was what AEW was a few years ago. It was what we enjoyed from old school wrestling with storytelling that was simple, that made sense, about people that you care about. So to see Triple H interrupt Shawn Michaels, who's now, that's Shawn's baby. Triple H is running main roster WWE. Hadn't been better, you can argue, ever. Shawn has taken over from NXT 2.0, which I was not a fan of. I know this podcast was not a fan of. There's some people out there who had been on NXT since 2.0 and will swear 2.0 was better than Black and Gold. Ain't no way in hell, in my opinion, but I respect your opinion, because you could argue and look at some of the stars we've gotten from 2.0. Okay, that's maybe a conversation for another day. But to see Shawn start that show off and then Triple H interrupt them, and for them to have that moment in the ring, I just thought was really, really damn cool. I thought it was fantastic. So you have that. And then I'm watching SmackDown on Friday. And we got Bad Blood this weekend. Of course, we'll get into our preview of it, which looks like a hell of a show. They're not even promoting Bad Blood in regards to buying tickets. I think they're about to be sold out, or they're basically sold out already. They are promoting Survivor Series. They are
Royal
promoting
Rumble.
Saturday night's main event. They just announced 2 nights of SummerSlam in MetLife Stadium in Jersey. To your point, Rhodesia, just a couple days ago, they announced, you know, tickets are going on sale in November for the Royal Rumble. I remember the time where they were only promoting house shows the upcoming weekend because they needed to sell tickets, and the upcoming pay-per-view. So to think about, look, we're not even needing to promote Bad Blood anymore because that thing's about to sell out. And we've already sold over 15,000 seats for Survivor Series and all these other shows, and now we're doing 2 nights in the stadium. That is incredible. And then AEW just signing their deal. The art form and the entertainment medium is as healthy as it's ever been. And as fans, we have to celebrate this, because we all remember how it was 5 years ago, where we were clamoring for that Wednesday night to come, because we're like, man, we finally got a promotion that's listening to us. We finally have a wrestling promotion that is starting, that cares about what the fans think and say. It was all about fan service for AEW. And I remember watching that show and just thinking, like, shit's on now. Like, I didn't think it would be as hot as it was immediately because they took off. You know, I think the first show they did 14,000 people in attendance or whatever it was. But today's a day to celebrate. Every single major company is thriving. Not even talking about TNA with their relationship with WWE. They're thriving. It is just an awesome, awesome, awesome time to be a pro wrestling fan. And for us to know that something that we love so much and we've watched damn near the majority of our lives at this point is as healthy as it is going to be around for a long time. It's something to really be happy about, because when it was only Vince running the game, it was strong, but damn, it was not what we are getting right now. So I say all that to say, now let's work our way backwards. Eshaun, you brought up AEW. This contract, sir, is telling you to shut your ass up about these ratings. Every single week you come on here and try to disrespect Tony Khan and All Elite Wrestling. For these folks to have signed that deal, let me pull this thing up. So there's some numbers that's been floating around. The first number I saw was it's valued at $150 million a year. Then I saw another number from a really strong source that said they heard this deal is closer to $175 million per year for a 5-year deal. The reason why that number is so significant, one, because you're talking about over $800 million for 5 years, but the current deal is valued at $75 million a year. So if that 175 number is legit and accurate, and we don't have to nerd out on the numbers, that is $100 million more a year they just signed in their contract. Now, with that comes the disappointing news for us that AEW pay-per-views would not be free on Max. It would be a discounted price starting next year in 2025. But when you break down the numbers, that makes sense. For them to get $175 million per year, they got to make that money back somehow, some way in regards to Warner Brothers. And that is, you know, the discounted pay-per-view prices. Cool. Dynamite and Collision still on TBS and TNT, same night. So they're still running Wednesdays and Saturdays. No mention of Rampage. So I think Rampage may be going away. But both shows will be streaming live on Max too, simulcast, which is great. Other big news that I'm excited about is on-demand streaming will begin in January. So we'll be able to go back and watch AEW. I'm going to assume they're going to put their pay-per-views on demand, but I don't know if we've gotten that. But absolutely, we'll be able to see Dynamites, Collisions, all that kind of stuff. And then what else? I think that was really like the big kickers from it. So, E, like I said, I'll start with you. You are absolutely the resident AEW hater. So when you saw that number, what did you think? Did you think, hey, par for the course, this is what you thought? Was it more than what you thought? Was it less than what you thought? What did you think when news broke today on just what that new contract looks like for them?
I mean, we kind of talked about it a couple of weeks ago. We said the rumor was 170. Mm-hmm. It came out today that it might be closer to 150. So it's probably in that same ballpark that's been floating around for some time. We know that they initially were looking for maybe 200, and they were looking for a 5-year deal versus the 3-year deal. So kudos. I mean, great for them. I mean, I expected an increase because the money's obviously there, right? Because we know that the WBD dropped the ball on NBA negotiations. That was huge for them. So that money was sitting there for somebody, right? So that's great for them. It's great for the talent. But like, I expected them to get the increase. I never thought for a minute that they wouldn't get an increase and a nice increase, because at the end of the day, I think that they probably took a haircut deal. I think that they probably took like an NXT deal. You think about NXT, 20 million or whatever it is a year. That's low for a WWE owned brand, right? Considering what, we're looking at, SmackDown 500. What was it? Is it 500 billion or something like that? Just something crazy, right? And then SmackDown also right now, AEW, Collision, and Dynamite are getting combined. So I guess if you cut those two shows in half, that's what each show is getting a year. But kudos to them. I mean, I expected them to get an increase. Why wouldn't they? The money's on the table. As far as the ratings things, we always talk about ratings and why they're important. Now, if the ratings were where they were a couple years ago, maybe they could have demanded, more years, more security, could have got close to the 175 or the 200 million or whatever it was. Because when you're doing great and you're hot, the ball's in your court, right? You can negotiate, you can get the higher of the two. Because at the end of the day, it's about what the networks think they can sell as far as advertising ads. So I'm glad they got an increase. I expected it to be about what it was, and I knew it was going to be an increase, so good for them. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really, if we want to talk about is the show worth that, right? And how they're performing. Look, I think WWE was comping down when they got their first $1 billion contract, right? And I knew that was the beginning of the end for me as a fan of WWE. I'm like, all right, now I didn't got paid for this shitty product. So there's no way it's going to change. It's only going to get worse because Vince has been validated. He said, hey, my idea of wrestling pays the bills. Shut up, E, stop watching. And you know what I did? I shut up and I stopped watching. I started watching NXT. I started watching New Japan. I started watching AEW. Good for them, right? You keep on putting shitty products out. What I'm going to do is flush the toilet, and I'm going to close the door, and I'm going to keep it walking. So, hey, good for them. But I do believe that at one day they will start, progressing their storylines and getting better and better. Because why not? I mean, there's too many talented people involved in that company for it to keep regressing as far as from a story and character standpoint. There's too much talent on that show. Just from a wrestler standpoint, from backstage standpoint, I'm hoping that the show improves. I'm glad they're getting paid. I hope they continue to get renewals and continue to get their money, because I know one thing that's great. It allows Swerve Strickland. We can have the conversation today or another day about him, but he is a black man and he is getting paid. He might have one of the richest African-American wrestler contracts that we've ever seen. And I'm sure that these deals on the table that's been in the back room kind of help contribute to that. Mercedes is getting big money from that company. We got MVP on that company. We might get Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin. And these are just African-American talents. All talent can benefit from AEW being strong financially. So kudos to them.
I thought I was very smart when it comes to numbers. And when you're talking about anywhere between 100 to 125% increase, as far as if you're saying they're valued at 75 million a year now to now 150 to 175, where the numbers today of their attendance is not the same, where the interest overall for it is not the same, and it's less than what it was 5 years ago. I don't even know where they get these numbers from. I think your original question is, how do you feel about this number? Bravo. Anytime somebody can get some money from somebody the right way, the proper way, bravo to them. For every point that you just said about people getting their bag, go right ahead.
I take it the wrong way sometimes too.
Yeah. But even you mentioned the $1 billion that WWE got. You still think about it. They still had Taker. They still had Brock Lesnar. They still had John Cena, Roman Reigns that they had as attractions. So I can see kind of even where they got that $1 billion. But I don't even know whoever negotiated this deal, they deserve a raise. And they're probably going to get a raise. But to me, I just don't know how these numbers add up. So I'm not as smart as I thought I was, evidently. Or it's probably just something that's just above my pay grade as far as understanding how you can value something, when I feel like the product itself is not as successful as it was 4 years ago. Can't say 5 years ago since it just started 5 years ago, but 4 years ago. But bravo to them for getting it.
And that's why I kept saying for the last few weeks, that's why I said I'm done talking ratings, because when this was rumored that the deal is about to be announced and how big of a deal it was, why am I on here talking about ratings when they are about to get paid out of the ass for the ratings that they are bringing to the table? So the numbers, you cannot argue that is a really good contract. Now, I'll be interested to see the details. Is there a stake? Did Tony have to sell a percentage of the company to WBD, right? That kind of stuff. But when you just take the numbers as is, 175 per year, I don't give a damn how you slice it. There's no other way of slicing it but saying that is a major accomplishment for this company and for professional wrestling. Because as hot as WWE is right now, things can change in an instant, as we saw just a few years ago, and the tide could turn, right? So I am happy when everybody is flourishing, because it only makes it better for us as fans. It gives us options. In what world could we get a card like Bad Blood is this week, and we get a great card, great night one for NXT, Julia versus Roxanne, and then on I ain't gonna say random Dynamite because they're celebrating 5 years. We're getting Okada versus Bryan Danielson and Ricochet versus Will Ospreay. What? If you cannot find something, bring it back, Rhodesia. Bring it back. If you can't find something to enjoy in that, this is the wrong thing for you. This is the wrong thing for you. So kudos AEW. I'm excited to watch the 5-year anniversary as soon as we get done recording this. You did mention could be seeing Bobby Lashley coming in. We could be seeing Shelton Benjamin coming in. Both are coming to AEW, which is great. Shelton may be there as we speak. I don't know how quick they're going to debut him, but I love the MVP promo he had last week on Dynamite. I thought that was really, really, really good. And we'll see how it plays itself out. Just more talents coming in. For me, the kicker is, and no, I don't think Bobby Lashley is a can't miss prospect. I don't believe that. That's not a knock on Bobby, but what I mean by that is I think Bobby could be a mid-carder somewhere and they'd be like, okay, I don't agree with that, but okay. I think about Oba Femi on NXT, just watching him make his entrance. That's the first time I've seen him live. I'm like, this guy can't miss. Like, you can't miss with him. I thought Wardlow was can't miss when he was really hot in the MJF feud. But it's going to be interesting to see how they book Bobby Lashley because they have not done a good job in AEW with big men. I'll be interested to see, does that change or is it still par for the course? But whatever happens, I think MVP's going to do his damnedest to make it work. And I'm excited to see how the storyline with Swerve works. Do they do a group or is it just immediately one-on-one against, whatever the Hurt Business looks like in AEW? I am excited about that. Where do you guys want to start? We got, like I said, we got Bad Blood this weekend. We got to preview that. We got to talk about NXT, of course. I do want to bring up, Cody was on the Pat McAfee show earlier today, and he said something. I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. And then that's kind of it. So where y'all want to go? Where y'all want to start?
I have no say. I have no notes. So I'm just going to go off of everything off the dome. So start anywhere. And I had some really great notes, too, from NXT. I bet you did. Can't access them because they're on my phone.
I bet you did.
And if I go to my phone and my notes, then my video disappears. And who knows what happened with the full recording. So
yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that. To hell with those notes. Be able to talk wrestling. That's what we do. We talking freaking wrestling.
If not, I'll make something up.
You good with NXT? Starting with NXT?
Yeah, you guys are live in the house, right?
Yes, sir. So before we get to any type of live thoughts, give me your thought, because I haven't watched anything back from the television broadcast. Give your thoughts on how the show came across. What'd you think about the debut episode of CW? Did they bleep out the holy shit chants from the crowd? Just kind of give us like your thoughts on just overall what the show was like.
Well, I ended up having to watch the show on the CW app. I have Sling, and Sling is a part of the package, and I didn't bother to buy antennas to get local television, so I had to wait the next day to watch it on the app. And man, that's going to be a struggle. I was trying to see if I can pay CW or something to get rid of these commercials because, like, throughout the entire hour and 30-minute broadcast, they kept playing the same AT&T commercial every match, and it's the same one. It's the young girl that was who played in The Last of Us.
Oh okay. Yeah, yep. I know which
the
one
Siri commercial.
Yeah,
for the iPhone.
It was the same. It was her talking to her agent, and then it was her going to the store, and they just kept rotating them too. And I was like, man, I cannot see this woman not one more time tonight, man. I was like over it. We got to figure something out with this app, man. At least give me some different commercials. You can't just give me the same one every damn match. So that was kind of brutal. We got to figure this out. But as far as the broadcast itself, like the quality of the video was fabulous. I didn't notice holy shit chance, but honestly, I tuned some of that stuff out. I was actually watching, I can't listen to it's like all that stuff is background noise for me as a viewer, especially when I'm into the matches itself. But overall show was great. I was like, yo, we getting some hip hop on this WWE. Like, it's like you talk about like giving you everything you need, man. Like, say what you want about the AEW hate or not, man. Look, WWE gave me something different and new. Something I ain't haven't experienced like this as a fan of hip hop and as of wrestling. I know there's some people coming out there and they don't like Mick Stallion on SmackDown and
go to hell for those people.
They may not like Lil Wayne on NXT,
go to hell
man.
For those people.
the thing is, you think about rap music, it's edgy, right? And the artists that they're putting out there are crossover artists. These are artists that they're like, they started maybe as, like the hardcore rap artists, but they actually graduate into very commercial artists. And commercial artists are loved by multiple people, right? Like that's what you want. That's what WWE is. It's crossover appeal. It's for everybody, right? So if you got a problem with hip hop, it's only because you don't like it, and that's okay. Because as a wrestling fan, I had to sit through many of bad rock and roll themed and generic rock and roll songs for these intros over the years as a fan, right? I've been a wrestling fan for over 60 years, and I done heard the worst rock and roll music in my whole life. I didn't go on people forums and complain. I didn't go on LOL message board and complain about this generic bad rock and roll music.
You need to do snail mail if you're 66 years old. You wrote letters. If that was the case.
Out here. I told y'all, Big Daddy it's a way of life. It ain't just a catchphrase, goddammit. But yeah, like look. So open your mind.
Old? Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry. Keep going. How's Big Daddy the same thing as being old?
Well, the first time I heard Big Daddy was like my cousin's grandfather. And she called him the Big Daddy. He wasn't just regular daddy. He was the Big Daddy. He was old. You know what I'm saying? So that always stuck to
no, man, it's just people say Big Daddy. Is what that means. You're just an old fart if you're old.
Yeah, well, listen.
You know what I'm saying?
As I said, this old fart wrestler fan
there you go.
has listened to generic bad rock and roll for years. I haven't heard anybody complain. Now we can't listen to Meg Thee Stallion.
But hey, some of the rock is good though, man. Some of the rock was good. Like we had some of it. We had some good ones. But anybody who's want to complain about the hip hop music that is current, that is hip, that fits what WWE is presenting right now, y'all can go to hell. Y'all just wrong.
It's just an edgy product. It has nothing to do with race and none of those other things. They're looking for an edgy crossover type of appeal. That's different than what they normally do. Right? They've been doing rock and roll and bad rock and roll songs for decades, right? It's a new era. It's new people on top. And going back to like the first, like they started that show off so hot with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels coming out first. So that's my go. I'm like, oh, my G coming out there to address the crowd. And then when Triple H popped up from the back, right? Because like it was where they shot it, you to see Triple H walking up.
It was the same.
Right? You
couldn't see it in the ring either. You only heard him when he said, "Are you ready?" I think he said, "Are you ready?" And then he just appeared. I was like,
perfect setup, cool. Right?
Yeah,
perfect setup. Cool. So that was a goosebump moment for me as a fan. So started off really hot, seeing my GOAT, right? And seeing Triple H, who's actually doing this thing on the main roster. And who would have thought, like, in the 90s, that Triple H and Shawn Michaels will be running WWE and not old dirtbag Vince? That's like, if you wanted to ask a question, like, I would have never said that 5 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, right? Especially
Triple H, yes. Shawn, no, because he was away. So even when Triple H was running NXT, I'm like, okay, please let him get a hold of the main roster. But those as a unit, or even more, back in the 90s when they were DX, if you would say, hey guys, listen here, I know you're not gonna believe it, but in 20 years, 25 years, these two are going to be running this company and bringing new things to the table that like we haven't seen before in WWE. Everybody would have been like, man, get the hell out of here. Yeah, right.
And think about this a couple of years ago when we had NXT 2.0, man. Look, Vince McMahon damn near gave Triple H a heart attack, took his baby from him, like took him off the TV. He did give him a heart attack.
Yep,
man. Vince, and this is how dirty, nasty Vince is, man. Not only did he take his baby from him, right, but he fired all his friends too. What a fucking dirtbag, man! He literally fired all of his friends.
Had to make a point. We don't lose. And to a certain extent, I respect and appreciate that part of it. Because they lost. They got destroyed by AEW on Wednesday nights. I think it was Wednesday nights, right? Yeah, it had to be Wednesday nights. So on one part, I appreciate it, and that's why he was as great of a businessman as he was. He didn't like taking L's. But at the same other time, though, everything worked out the way it was supposed to. Because if we didn't have those horrible times, we wouldn't appreciate the good times like we do right now. Because damn, did we have some horrible times back then. So, Rhodesia, I know you said you got goosebumps. You said chills, right? You said you got chills at the beginning of NXT.
Well, Shawn Michaels is not my favorite wrestler by any stretch of imagination. I will say, though, since he's been running NXT, showcasing and highlighting women and people of all different shades, he's completely made it in my top list as far as people in wrestling. But I was never a big fan of Shawn Michaels. That's no surprise there. But when he first started in the ring, I'm hyped because this is the first NXT on CW, and we're there, and I'm like, I'm feeling it. This is good. But when he first started talking, I was literally transported back 8 years ago, 7 years ago, whenever, the first set of takeovers that we've been to. And I'm like, this is giving me that original NXT vibe. So when he started his beginning, and as soon as Triple H said, "Are you ready?" Again, we couldn't see it, and I'm short, and I'm standing up, still couldn't even see him in the ring. It was an instant thing like, wait, that's Triple H's voice. And it just popped me so hard. Like, that made me feel like, okay, I love Shawn more than I ever could imagine. Because again, the passion he had it's his baby now, but you wouldn't have known that he just took over 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, however long he's been head writer there. If you could feel the passion, Matt, you made a comment about 20 years ago. Could you imagine the two of them running the show? Maybe, because I don't know when DX was. They were running WWE back then. That wouldn't have been a surprise. But the surprise would have been they left, went in their kind of their own directions, had their own trajectory in life, and then they came back to this point where they're now running NXT and main roster. That to me is like, holy shit. We never could have imagined that or even thought that. But that first segment of NXT, and then followed by the match, and we'll get into that in a second, I so felt like this was the original black and gold when we first went to takeovers at Mania. It just gave me all the goosies, and it was goosebumps that I wrote in my notes, and the goosebumps I'm feeling right now.
And that's what wrestling should do for you. Right? Mm-hmm. Everything is not nostalgia in wrestling, but as wrestling fans, we are very nostalgic. Right? It could be something that sucks, and just give it a couple years, and we be like, man, remember that shit? It was great. That's just how we are as wrestling fans. But that was, I remember, like, just when the show started, for me, it started when I heard Lil Wayne as the theme song. Legit. Right. I turned to Rhodesia. I was like, is that Wayne? And she was like, yeah. I was like, yo, all right, this is different already. And I know they talked about they were going to do some new things production-wise with the show. And it looked fantastic there live. Everything was clean. Everything was crisp. It had a big feeling to it. I'm excited to watch it. I'll probably tomorrow, I'll probably will watch the show just so I can get a feel of how it was and how it came across. Because I am interested to see, because it's TV 14, allegedly. So I am interested to see if they did, bleep out the holy shit chants, and was there anything different maybe in the production of it all. But let's go ahead and kind of talk about the first match. So Julia and Roxanne, I love that they gave the women the opportunity to be able to say, we were the first match in the CW era. I thought that was big. You're not going to main event over Trick. And for me, out of everything, it was a 100% probability Trick was winning the NXT title, which is fine, right? You're on a new network. You need a new champion. Ego's entire run was all about that moment where he put Trick over on NXT, and I'm good with that. I thought Ego did a fantastic job up to that point with that title run. But I thought the match was good to very good. I don't know if it ever hit great to me.
Oh, no, I absolutely felt that it hit great. This was probably some of the cleanest work I've seen Roxanne do in a long time. And again, not because of her, but again, who she's dancing with. And this is my first time actually really seeing Julia wrestle. Like, where I normally would see, and I say it with women because we see it a lot with women. It's not clumsy, it's not labored, but it almost looks like they're fighting wrestling. It was really none of that I saw. Everything was clean. It seemed like they had so much good chemistry together. There wasn't really any spots of like they didn't do something right. They both were intense. I thought that this was actually a great match. This is probably one of my favorite women's wrestling matches that I've actually ever seen. I know a lot had to do with me being there in person and in public, because we came off of the intro of, I think it was 2 Chainz and Wayne new theme song. You got Shawn Michaels intro in with Triple H, and then you start off hot with Julia and Roxanne. And to me, maybe I'm just high and I'm
you are full of hyperbole right now. You are full of hyperbole, ma'am.
Sure,
it is
straight hyperbole.
You go back and watch that match. There were a couple of spots that weren't the cleanest, and that's okay because I'm sure they haven't probably worked together. So I'm not dissing it at all. And it also makes sense too match. Of why I thought it was good to very good, because it ain't over. No, granted, Julia's going to Cora Jade, which I thought her re-debut was fantastic. Knock on wood that she stays healthy this time, because remember, she went out pretty quick last time. Looked tremendous. So now we kind of know that Stephanie is going to probably be gearing toward Roxanne, and then you have, then you got Cora Jade and Julia kind of doing her thing. But I'm excited to see Julia get more comfortable each and every week. I think she'll get more comfortable, but she looks like a star. Like, everything, it factor. I talk about Obafemi, Julia. She also has the complete it factor. But I thought it was a very good match.
Great.
And there was some talk online about the finish. Do you have Julia lose already? Pinfall loss. Could you have done something differently? I personally don't have a problem with it because of who she lost to, which I've been talking about Roxanne for a long time. She's a golden to making to me. She is a future star in WWE. She is a WrestleMania main eventer. I think that highly of her, and I've thought that highly of her since day one. But I was okay with Julia losing. And I don't know if some of that is maybe a little bit of biasness because it happened on NXT, and I trust Sean, because I think maybe if it wasn't, I may have been like, that was the wrong move. But E, what did you think when you saw Julia lose? I ain't gonna say clean because it wasn't clean, but she took a pinfall loss only on her second match in NXT.
Yeah, I'm fine with those kind of things, man, because it was due to interference. Like, right? Cora came out there, caught her slipping, threw her back in the ring. She was in, and then Roxanne took advantage. You think about from a just a casual viewer perspective, like, Julie doesn't look weak. It looked like Roxanne cheated and she needed help to win. Like, right? Like, I feel like that works. Sometimes, us high level fans, what we think we are, we overthink these things, man. Like, it's like it's a big match. So someone has to lose and someone has to win. And so the heel had to cheat to win. If anything, this makes Roxanne look like that she needs help to keep her championship, and that's what you want as a heel. Like, right? And this gives Julia another reason to challenge her again in the future, maybe the near future. Like, look, you needed help to beat me. Like, if your girl not there, I got you. Maybe this is when Stephanie comes in there. Like, hey, look, I'm gonna run interference. I'm gonna take care of one of the girls, and you see like a four. They kind of mix it up. You see tags, you see some 4 ways. It's nice. I think it gives them some awesome possibilities. I was cool with it.
Not for one moment did I think any less of Julia, and it is because they put her in such a high position. The first match on CW, they built her up. She's gonna go for a title shot at the debut show. I mean, they built her up so well. And at the end of it, I never once thought like, oh, wow, Julia took a loss. Now, I didn't even realize it until you just said it. Like, yes, I knew that she lost, but it was never like, oh, damn, she buried her. When we get upset about somebody losing their debut match, it's usually because it made them look less of a star. And in reality, it didn't. Like he said, it made her look like even bigger because now the champion had somebody else to come help you. And then on top of that, we now have another branch of a campaign. So we had something originally that was maybe a 3-way. Now we actually have 2 separate campaigns that we got out of this. And then whenever those campaigns are done, then they can flip flop and come back to the original of Julia and Roxanne, if that's where it goes. Not at one moment did I ever think Julia was made less of a character, less of a star. I think this was done perfectly. Because again, Roxanne shouldn't have dropped the title. Let's be honest. What is the only other way to get her there? And I think they did it perfectly fine.
So strong start to the show. And they followed up with the street fight, which was my match of the night. Personally, I don't have much to add. I'm not going to break it down. I thought it was tremendous. I've always said that typically friends have some of the better matches because they go for it and they went for it. I'm glad Zachary Wentz is fine. That missed table spot outside the ring was really scary because every time I see somebody miss a table like that, I think about Shawn Michaels and when he destroyed his back. on that back body drop off, to the coffin against Taker back in 97 or whatever it was. So always, that's the first thing my mind goes to. But he was fine. Looks like he was good. When his TNA contract is up, sign that man back. He should have never been released anyway. We know there was some stuff out there with who he was dating and she lied on him, et cetera, et cetera. But that was outside of, I'm glad that he was healthy. Watching him and Wes wrestle in front of that many people against each other after seeing Zach on, the independents a lot over the last year or so. A really, really cool guy too. Just a sweetheart of a guy. But I just kind of thought back to like, man, you're back where you should have never went from.
Yeah.
And how cool that has to be. So Wesley wins, which was fine, which was great. But like I said, that was my match at night. I thought that was excellent.
Remember when I asked to start the show last episode about the yin and the yang, and your question was, or your response was the crowd, you love them,
yeah,
but you also hate them. And that pissed me off. And I don't know if you got to hear it, but when he missed the table, there was actually a chant of "you fucked up." And I'm just like, listen, y'all, like, are we serious? Are we doing this right now? And that irritated me so bad. And also, this was already after the fact. In the first 5 seconds, they start asking for a table when the match first started. That pissed me off. But I'm like, okay, hey, this is a hardcore match. Ask for it, right? But when he did miss that table, my first thought was, damn, I hope he's okay. And then I thought to myself, they might still try to do that spot again to break the table.
I did too.
And I was worried about that.
Especially because he threw him in the ring, and then it was a 2 count. Yes. He did a move on him, and then it was 2 count. I was like, shit. So he was supposed to go through the table, and that wasn't the finish of the match.
Yeah.
So now I was like, all right, maybe it's good that he didn't go through the table, because then I would have been bitching about how you go through the table like that, and that's not even the finish. That would have been the whole thing. But yeah.
But my first thought was, again, like I said, damn, hopefully he's okay. I don't know about Shawn Michaels missing. You said he hit the coffin. I don't know anything about that. I wasn't watching at that time. So for you, I could imagine you really like, oh shit, that's really scary. But that, then on top of, man, they probably going to, these motherfuckers going to try to do it again. That's all I could think of. And these fans were sitting up here saying, you fucked up. Like, it irked me so bad. Like, are you serious right now?
But not that it makes it better, but I think they were chanting that at Wes Lee and not Zach.
It still doesn't make it any better. Regardless of
it does, because he launched him a little too far, if that's how you want to look at it. So that's I'm trying to give them some bail. And it was actually the section over that started to chant from us. That's what I think it was. So if that was the case, it makes it a little bit easier to digest. But it goes back to, as soon as they started to then we want tables chant, I was like, can you let them work the match? Y'all not calling the match. Let them get to the stuff when they get to it. I know that's just fans being fans. But still, that was like, come on, guys.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So funny, probably the funniest thing all night. They show Miz, and Miz is getting nuclear heat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm like, damn, like Punk and Miz made up. What's happening? Miz comes out. I think they were doing commercial. Nuclear heat. I even tweeted, like, man, like, Chicago's not a fan of Miz right now. I didn't realize he turned heel until about 2 hours ago when I watched Raw, because I missed Raw on Monday. I was watching those Lions, and oh yeah, baby, Lions is here 3-1 on a bye week. I know this is not a football podcast, but I said a couple weeks ago in the group chat, I think Brandon may have sent a message and said thoughts about the Lions, and I said when they figure out their red zone offense, we will be the best team in the league. And the last 2 weeks, we figured out our red zone offense, and we've looked fantastic heading into a bye. I hate early buys. I know we got a couple people injured, but before the season started, I put money down. We were winning the NFC and we were winning the Super Bowl. I like my bet right now.
Go right.
I like my bet right now. But yeah, so I thought that was funny. I was like, oh, that's why they were booing him. He turned on our truth on Monday night.
I was livid. And again, so you piggyback that on after we won tables, you effed up, and now they booing Miz. I'm like, hold on, Miz is like the man. Miz is actually pretty chill. Are you booing him because he's from Ohio, Illinois? That's what I was thinking. And sure enough, like you said, I went back and watched Raw. I was like, ugh.
Makes sense now.
I was a mark. They must like this dummy.
It's like, it makes sense. Got it. So we had that, and of course we had the Miz TV, which was cool, right? It was all right. And then the women's tag team match, which how can you not like when Lola Vice and Jada Parker is involved in anything? But I thought the match was worked very well. And then we even got Bianca and Jade, which got a huge reaction.
Mm-hmm.
from the crowd. And then just that moment with the three of them posing, and all of them with championship belts. Awesome moment. I thought that was great. And then we got to the main event, which was Ego and Trick. Trick is, like I thought, super over. That was the first time I've seen Trick in person since he's been Trick, with the whoop that Trick. Song goes, crowd is into it, crazy. Ego is Ego in a good way. What I mean by that, Trick is just missing something to his matches. He's got the total package in regards to looks, charisma, theme song. He's got the crowd, but it is something about his matches that they don't crescendo at the right moment. And it happened again last night. I'm sitting there looking. We're right across from the hard cam. So I'm sitting there looking at the clock. If you guys don't know, they have a clock right up under the hard cam. So, of course, they can just look and see how much time they have on TV. So I'm looking at the clock. I know the finish has to be coming up in the next 35 seconds, because if not, we are running over and this finish is not going to be on TV. And I'm like, they're not there yet in terms of the way the match is going. They're not there yet. And then the finish happens and then he wins the championship. And my first thought, because once again, this was 100% fact he was winning this title, which was the right call. But my first thought goes back to when it was him and Carmelo in those matches at Stand and Deliver. And I said the same thing. I said, man, something was just missing on that match. Like, it never felt like it got out of second gear. Now, to me, this match felt like it got out of second gear. It felt like it was in third gear and they were going good. But then you never got to that spot where the crowd is up and then they go up, and then it's the finish. It was like, we're here, and then it's a finish. And for me, I don't understand why that happens to his matches. There's nothing against his work. That's not a work thing. To me, that is I don't know who the agent was for that match, but it just felt like something was missing toward the end. Rhodesia, you said you had something for the pod. You were going to ask me a question and you pulled it back. Before you get to your question and your comments, by you watching on television, maybe it came across differently. Did you feel that way, or did you feel like the match, the end, was right what it needed to be and everything was 100%?
I thought the match was fine because I don't have those high expectations for Ethan Page or Trick Williams matches at that point, to be honest with you. Ethan Page is more character to me. I think his matches are just fine. He's not Shawn Michaels in there to me, and neither is Trick Williams at this point. Like right now, he's only been in the business for 2 years, right? So him to be at the point to where he is, so he can be in the main event and have a match that's fine, right, for a main event. I think he's done quite well for himself. There's a reason why he's in NXT, and NXT, let's not forget, it's still developmental. Like, right, this isn't like the NXT Black and Gold where you got guys who's been in the business for 10, 15 years wrestling the main events, right? We got some cats, young brothers like Trick Williams, who's out there learning, and he's doing it in the main events on network TV, and I think he's doing a damn good job. So the match is fine for what it was. I didn't expect him to be out there, give me 5-star Uncle Dave matches. Like, if he can give me a match that's plausible, I'm good. I thought it was fine for what it was supposed to be.
This is where I'm so upset because I want my notes. Like I said, by this time of the show, I'm going ham in my notes, talking about Punk.
To hell with your notes. If you can't talk about wrestling by now without needing your notes.
No, because I wanted to make sure that I had the receipts and I was factual in my comment. And I don't want to just make up something. But at this point, I'm going ham in my notes, talking mad shit about Punk, right?
You type in like the cat meme? The cat
big time.
Go hard. That was you?
Hard. That's me. And I had a fantastic question I was going to ask you about Trick Williams. Of course, I don't know how I actually formulated the question, so we'll get back to it. But what you just said there, I wonder if we feel that way because maybe the match starts so hot, because he is so hype. When he starts his matches, usually he starts hyper, that maybe he needs to slow it down and tell the story. Well, I will say, as far as getting to the next gear. I'm not too knowledgeable on that and being able to speak to what moves you do when you're in first gear and tempo and stuff. I will say though, a lot of his main spot matches, it ends anticlimactic, and that's it's like almost a common denominator that I'm seeing with Trick. So that maybe that has something to do with the whoever produced the match, because maybe you got to tell that story differently. But I wonder if part of it is also people are so hyped from the very beginning, you don't have time or room to breathe, to start slow and then finish off with a climax. But I would say there's a lot of times where that match is over and I'm like, oh, it's over? And that for me, when somebody who's consuming wrestling, I'm not as good as you to be able to know, like I said, the moves and the tempo, but I can feel it. You know, like if you're watching TV in the background, you know kind of when the match is about to end.
You can hear it.
You can hear
right?
it between the crowd, the noise in the ring, the bumps on the actual mat. You can hear that kind of stuff. Even because I multitask a lot, so I can hear it. You don't hear that with Trick Williams matches. But I'll come back and ask that question later, maybe on the next pod, if I continue to see what I was thinking at that time. But again, I thought it was a really great spot. I like Ethan Page. I thought that when they first put the title on him and gave him the first title championship match, I was like, wow, that's interesting. They gave it to him that quick. But I thought he did a fantastic job as far as, like you said, holding the title, maybe not making it fall apart. It still had value in it, so that now we can crown Trick at the CW premiere. I thought he was a good champion for the purpose of why they had him.
Yeah. 2 thumbs way up for the show overall. I thought it did everything it needed to do. If there was somebody who by chance watched NXT for the first time and looking at the rating, they may have a little less than 1 million for CW. I think they would tune in next week to see what this whole thing is about again. So I think from that perspective, they did a great job. And that's all you can ask for. Great week 1. Now for them on to week 2 to St. Louis to see if they can build that momentum. And then we got the Delta vignette too. Looks like she'll be here. I think she has a match scheduled, or they're getting ready for Halloween Havoc, which is the end of October. But that was her in that vignette.
I was like, that's Mercedes heavy. How she get out of her AEW deal that quick?
I don't even know if she's heavy anymore. We can need to talk about that. Anywho, I said we celebrating pro wrestling today. Cody Rhodes was on the Pat McAfee show, and I need to pull this up because I want to just bring it up because it's pretty big news. He said that while he was on there, which I need to watch this entire video, he said there will be a video package played at Bad Blood that has major title implications. And I think it's for Saudi, if I'm not mistaken. So that's number one. Second thing he said was,
Saudi, do we know?
Yeah, I can pull it up. It's soon. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, this year. He also said that this run going into WrestleMania 41 will be bigger than anything or anyone could have anticipated.
Okay.
We have already anticipated Cody and Rock.
Right.
We've already anticipated. I mean, really, that's really the only one for Cody, right?
Or was Cody Roman 3. I mean, right.
Yeah, okay. I don't think we get that at Mania. I think we get that before Mania. But yes. So for him to say it's bigger than anyone could have anticipated, he's got to be talking about The Rock. Right? Because even The Rock said last year, or not last year, a couple months ago, that we're on the 1 yard line of the biggest WrestleMania main event in history or something to that effect. Now, maybe they have metrics or something, or this is common sense, that Rock and Cody is the biggest match they can do right now. I don't know if I completely agree with that. Maybe it's the biggest match for Cody is Rock. I don't know in the grand scheme of things, if you say, hey, man, we need to do the biggest match we can possibly do at WrestleMania 41. I don't know if I would go Cody and Rock right now. But all it's going to take is Rock to show up and I'm going to change my mind. Like, hell yeah, give us Rock and Cody. So what's your guys' thoughts about him saying that and or the video package we're going to see at Bad Blood that has major title implications? Do they do Roman and Cody in Saudi for the title?
Okay, I would just say this. I think he's full of a lot of lip service. I think he's in his bag of politician where he's going to sell the product. So bravo to him for getting us talking, for us to bring it up on our pod today, to get that anticipation. The video package, again, the only other thing I could think that would be bigger than Cody Rock would be Roman Rock. And so we're not even there yet to tell that
He
story.
wouldn't be talking about that.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we know that. But the Saudi you just brought up, so I don't really know. I haven't had time to think about that.
Crown Jewel, November 2nd.
November 2nd.
So that's before Survivor Series.
No, I think Cody's just being a great spokesperson, a great champion of the WWE in regards to selling the product. So I think the majority of that is lip service, and he can sell it.
Man, this ain't Tony Khan talking. This is Cody Rhodes, goddammit. Cody tells
put
the
it from
truth.
the TK.
Hey, stop. E, what'd you just say? You said Cody tells the truth?
Cody tells the truth, goddammit.
Cody came out and said him and Roman didn't talk at all before the face-to-face on the football field. He said they had no idea what each other were going to say. If you don't get out of here with this whole Cody don't lie, Cody like Brian Danielson, all they do is lie. Both of them lie. if we really supposed to sit
they
here,
talk? How you know they talk?
Come on, man.
How do you know they talk?
Come on, man.
Look, Cody had to get the baby from daycare because Brandy was teaching yoga in Roswell. He had to swoop her up so she could watch the baby. They had time to talk to Roman. They had real life things popping off out here in the GA. And then on top of that, we got to prepare for a hurricane out here. And freaks, I'm gonna let y'all know. So I'm talking to y'all. So here it is, Friday morning, right? Like Atlanta's in a state of emergency. And so you would think my best friends in the world will be texting me, "Hey, E, you good down there in Georgia?" No. Matt texts me, "Hey, E, where the podcast at? Where the video up?" No, "Hey, how you doing? How's the family? Are you safe?" Where the video up, y'all? So this is more heel action. So of course he'll know what a good guy like Cody is supposed to do.
You gonna finish that story or no?
Cody tells the truth.
You gonna finish that story?
He ain't talked to her. I just did. Cody tells
you didn't finish it. No, you didn't, sir.
See?
You didn't finish the story. I need you, if you're gonna bring the story up, I need you to finish the story.
And tell the
go ahead and finish the story.
Tell the full
story. The story was I get a text.
Okay.
Where the video up, not a "Hey, how you doing?" And that's the end of the story. We talking about Cody right now.
All right, go ahead and finish, and then I'll tell the finish of the story once you get done. Go ahead.
Nobody wants to hear the cap. Whatever you say ain't gonna take away that you ain't say "How are you doing?" You just simply ask for the video. But Cody's a good guy. He does good. He's not lying. So, and here's the thing too: they are building towards this show in Saudi, which I actually forgot about it. But I mean, I gotta get over it, right? Because things have changed, right? The Saudi show is probably is their second biggest show of the year, especially for a match standpoint. They put some super cards on that show. So I'm like, I don't necessarily want a Cody Rock match at the Saudi show, but I don't necessarily.
You mean Cody Roman?
Cody Rock, I'm thinking.
Like, we damn sure not getting Cody Rock at Saudi.
And I'm like a Cody Roman. I don't know how. I can see how they can get to it, but I feel like they'll get to it too quick. I feel like that's a 43 whatever, right? But we'll see. I think it's going to be a big match. I definitely think it's going to be a big match because that's a super show. That is one of their biggest shows. So I can definitely see them having a big match because it's not going to be Cody versus Roman. It's not going to be Cody versus Randy Orton. It's going to be him in a big match with big stakes. Now, I definitely see whatever match they put on that card having like some type of a garbage finish, right? I can definitely see, Jimmy Hart running out and breaking up the pin or something, like just something random because like they have to get to WrestleMania. But yeah, I definitely see them having a big match for that card.
Yeah, and then the word came out that Roman is rumored to be in the actual Royal Rumble match this year and not a singles match, which means if he's in that match, he's looking to get the title. So that's going to be interesting. But for him to say that video is going to be shown during Bad Blood, I wonder if we get some type of stipulation if like Roman and Cody wins and it's, Roman gets a shot at Saudi or something like that. It'd be interesting to see. But Cody's absolutely a liar. That's what he does. He's a liar. So considering
he lies like E.
Considering he wants to bring it up. So this is how it went down. We record on Wednesday nights. right? So Thursday, pod goes up. Actually, we put the pod up like early Thursday morning. Y'all know I talk about my cousin a lot, Dwayne. He came in. He lives in Georgia.
Very close.
So he is in town on Thursday. I don't need to reach out to E because I know exactly how the weather is because they're checking their Ring app to make sure everything is all good.
Videos and everything.
So all it was wind. Okay. So Thursday goes, and typically E does a great job of putting.
Here we go.
All it is wind.
If you live in Georgia, you know it wasn't just all wind. There's a lot of people who actually was underwater. But please continue. Y'all live here. Y'all know. Because the Ring app told you everything y'all need to know.
It wasn't no rain.
It
wasn't no rain. So anyway.
Okay.
So we're checking Thursday, right? No issues. Friday comes, I just check YouTube. I say the pod's not up yet. I said, hey, do we know when the pod's going to come up? E responds and says that he has the video up. And he says, and we are good, by the way. Fam is safe. Power came on a few hours ago. Cool. Once again, I was already, Dwayne and Sue are here. I know that they are good to go. But, okay, maybe somehow it just skipped over their home and only hit E's house. So then I say, when and how long did the power go out? He said Dwayne and Sue came to visit. They've been checking their house and everything's been all good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the TFW podcast, listen to this fucker's response. He says, I'm not sure, to be honest. I fell asleep waiting for dinner to be ready and slept through the whole thing. Why the hell did you bring it up then if you slept through the whole thing? If you don't give a damn, why do I give a damn?
See, hey, freaks, do you see how he
Come on, man.
So we got two friends who are unconcerned for well-being, and all they worried about is a video up, and they're basing my well-being off their cousin who lives 2 hours away from me.
He don't live 2 hours away from you.
They live 2 hours away from me.
He's so full of it. So E, when you had the school shooting there, did I not message you right away to ask you how's is everything?
I'm not asking about. I'm not talking about school shooting. I'm talking about what happened the other day.
He said stay on target.
He said stay on target. Up other stuff to talk about what happened 2 days ago.
He said, did I not wish your kids happy birthday every year?
Like seriously,
sometimes y'all do.
You wanna bring? Hey, look. If that's the case, Eshawn, did you wish Matt a happy birthday a few weeks ago? Nope, you didn't wish Matt a happy birthday a few weeks ago.
I did.
Don't let the truth get in the way.
Go back to your text. Search, because you can search by date now. Consider you can do it on the intelligent app.
I deleted it.
I absolutely did.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Here's the thing.
Thank you very much.
What he's not going to do is make it sound like we are not unconcerned friends. We
make
sure
they weren't
that
day.
Okay. And then
they just wanted the video up.
I follow the news more than probably anybody that I know. I know all about the trajectory. I even have some conspiracy theories on what actually happened on this. So I knew that you were perfectly safe. And then when it comes out and said, "Oh, I slept through the whole thing," then why you coming at us?
So also, I'm giving more context. Okay, here's the so I also told them that I have Crohn's disease. So shout out to Big Swole, because we talked about it briefly. I'm having a relapse. So I've been very ill all week. So I don't know if I even passed out, to be honest with you, because I don't remember going to sleep. I just remember waking up the next day, sitting in the same spot, and I fell asleep at I guess if I passed 8 o'clock. But I remember earlier in the day, I was having a hard time driving home because I couldn't keep my eyes open. And I got about 8 hours of sleep the night before. So I have no idea why it was so bad. But I do know for a fact that I had a hard day as far as an energy level perspective. So I was really feeling really bad. And I actually had told my friends this. So it's okay. The video got up. That was the important thing, because the Ring app told them that I was perfectly safe. I want to say that another friend of mine said a tree actually fell in one of their neighbor's houses. So there was things popping out here. But again, these are Cody haters. Also, Rhodesia don't like Shawn Michaels, so she don't like Shawn Michaels.
He been holding that one in the chamber.
She don't like Shawn Michaels. She don't like Cody Rhodes. She don't like CM Punk, and she don't care about asking their friends if they safe after a hurricane. We done learned all.
He had that one in the chamber.
Hey Matt, I gotta ask you this question.
I took a note. I said I could take my notes. I got it right. That's my little man right there. I can take notes. I can see mine. I had it right there. I can talk about it.
Hey, Matt. Yeah. On roughly August 22nd, when we had 53 tornadoes touch down in the Chicagoland area that was very close to us, did he not one time say, "Hey, I heard y'all got a lot of tornadoes"?
He was sleeping with his Crohn's disease, so back off of him. All right. I do have a changing subject. That was fun. I got a YouTube question from our guy Joe Davis. He represented. He had a question. So last week there was a lot of conversation surrounding the booking of black wrestlers in WWE. There was a report. It wasn't even a report. Somebody did the stats, and showed that there has not been a black wrestler, maybe, I think, was it just male black wrestler on a PLE? And like, I can't remember what this, don't get me to, but I know there was an issue with black wrestlers not being represented properly on WWE PLEs. That was documented. I want to say it was like 2 years since a black wrestler has won on a PLE in a singles match. So Joe asked, he said, the booking of black wrestlers, specifically black male wrestlers under Tripp's regime, has not been good. Bad Blood would now be the third PLE with 0 black men on the card. And it's been over a year since a black guy was in a singles match on a PLE, and 2 years since a black guy won a singles match on a PLE. So he left that about 4 days ago. And I knew I wanted to bring it up as a topic, so I didn't respond in the comments to him. So I wasn't ignoring you, Joe. News came out a couple days ago that UE basically said that they didn't realize that, and that would be rectified very soon. Before I give my thoughts, what's your guys' thoughts on the perception that WWE is not utilizing their black talent properly because of the stat that Joe put in the comment?
Perception is reality for most people, just like how E thinks that we're unfit friends because we didn't ask him how he was doing after we knew he was okay. But if I look back at the black male wrestlers of WWE, besides Street Profits, Bobby, Carmelo, it's kind of actually leaving my head. So I think the actual biggest question would be, do we even have a lot of black male wrestlers on the card itself? I think we need to probably start there, because if you have 3 to 4, then of course they're not going to probably win, because you're looking at just the odds compared to everybody else. If you don't have that many black men on your TV show, then they're going to have less wins because it's less of them. So that's some really eye-opening stats for damn sure. I don't like that. It sounds good that they are now smartened up and now they're going to try to work on that. But my beef or my question would be more of, why don't we have more black men on the roster that we're seeing every week?
Go ahead with your thoughts, man. I'm interested.
So when I first saw people talking about it, and it is what it is, right? That's factual. And then, of course, I saw a lot of people hopping in WWE's racist. WWE don't like black people. Triple H is racist. MVP has some things to say about Triple H. For sure. He never said he was racist, though. And he even came out and said, I never said Triple H was racist. But he did talk about how maybe he does not utilize black talent the best. I can't come out and say that a company or a person that is the head of creative is racist, because that is a strong thing to throw at somebody.
It's a charge, a huge charge. Yep.
When we have the implementation of all this hip hop music, we have, every time you turn around, you look, there is some NBA star that is being featured ringside or on television. Travis Scott doing the WrestleMania piece. You watch television, and you would never think there's an issue if you just watch Raw and SmackDown, particularly SmackDown. There is a ton of black talent, it feels like, that are in some of the bigger feuds. Now, a lot of them are women too. Naomi, Jade, Bianca, you have that piece of it. On Raw, you have the New Day. You got, Truth. There's a nice amount. I'm not going to say a lot, but there's a nice amount. So when I saw that pop up, the first thing that came to my mind was nothing in regards to negativity around race. The first thing that came to my mind, honestly, was, well, they did say they like these 5 or 6 match PLEs. They're going to have to figure out a way to flip some of these matches and not just have them all on Raw and SmackDown. Because Melo and Andrade easily could have been on the last 2 PLEs. Mm-hmm. And they've been running it strictly on SmackDown in a high-profile spot. Right? And like I said, there's some other ones too. So that was my thought. My thought was, yeah, maybe they're not on PLEs, but they're being featured prominently on television, which more people watch TV than they do PLEs. So if I had to complain, or if I had to pick one or the other, I would probably say keep them on Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, I want them everywhere. So this shouldn't be a this or that. This needs to be they're everywhere. And once again, Sounds like they're going to rectify it, and maybe we see it as soon as Saturday, maybe not. But then let's see what we get at Saudi. Let's see what we get at Survivor Series. I am sure that if it was not ill intent and it was not done on purpose, we will see this switched immediately. So that would be my thought on it.
Yeah, I know we briefly discussed this maybe a couple of shows ago. Something in a very similar comment from someone. I don't remember who it was. And I'll say this, like, we don't know what's really in people's hearts, right? Like, I don't think when Hogan came out as a racist, I don't think that anybody really saw like that rant coming. Like, right, I know specifically I've heard Booker T mention quite a few times that he said that Hogan, you know, a couple times, like, saved his career. Like, I think that Hogan said that he wanted to work with Harlem Heat, so they worked with him in WCW. He specifically said he saw something in him then. And I think when Booker T dropped the N-bomb on national TV, right? I think Booker T felt like at the time, I think he said that he felt like, you know, like, oh man, I should have said that. I'm about to get fired. And I think that like Hogan cracked a joke in catering or something like that. Like,
will Hogan say, hell, I say it all the time. Is that what Hogan said?
Hey, in hindsight, you would think that's what he would have said to him, right? You might throw it back to him, like gave him some play or something like that, right? But I think he made light of it, and he was like, oh, if Hogan cool with it, it must be cool, right? So, but you never know. But I say that to say this, though. I as someone who's very proud of his race, I do feel at times that we try to victimize ourselves a little too much. And I think that's what this is a little bit, because what we need to look at the WWE roster and how many main event black talent do they have right now, like right on the roster. You got the New Day. They're being featured. They've always been featured. Like, the New Day have always had a spot, even if they're just in random tag team matches. You got Bianca and Jade, who are heavily featured. Bianca's been featured forever. She was the longest reigning champion, I think, in their history for some time, right? They just had to take the belt off of her, right? Because she was running it for quite some time. Jade, they put her on and gave her a big spotlight and brought her into the company. And now it seems like they have a plan to develop her in a way she's never been developed in AEW TV right now. They're the tag team champions. Could we say that maybe some of their matches could have been on PLEs? Possibly, but against who? To be honest with you, like, their matches against Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, I mean, you know, and it's not to do with Bianca and Jay. It's just that I think that they don't really have any competition in that division that really warrants being on the PLE, in my opinion. Carmelo Hayes is coming up there, right? Would you like even his matches with Andrade? They almost got to kind of rebuild him because, you know, I don't want to say he didn't mean anything, but he wasn't until this specific feud, he wasn't setting the world on fire,
right?
Like, right. And Carmelo is on the up and coming. So like, if they're looking at the PLEs, if they're shorter, right, and there've been like 5 matches, I kind of feel like I don't want them to bump matches just to appease an audience. I don't know necessarily the case is that, okay, we don't want to feature black talent. I just feel like they feel like there's 5 other matches that are bigger than the matches with those talent. Like, right? Trinity always get, like, I feel like the wrestlers that are in the company are respected and they're in places that they should be. Like, right? Now the bigger question is, okay, like, how can we build the next black, superstar? That's the question. And I think the next black superstar is NXT, and that might be Trick Williams. And I know we're talking about his ring work. To be honest with you, I think his trajectory is fine, because I would rather him come into these matches hot as hell, getting the crowd hype, rocking the microphone, than having good matches, not having the personality, not having the crowd hype, and he just being another wrestler. I mean, we have plenty of great wrestlers and that come out to no reaction. So I think that he's on a good track. So once he gets to the main roster, once he starts getting some more reps, maybe he can be the black superstar that the WWE is missing. Like, they're there. You look at NXT, man, that's UPN down there. That's UPN back in the 90s and the 2000s, man. It's a smorgasbord of black talent, right? We just saw Jada Parker on the show. There's a random big black brothers all running around the show. You got Ashanti doing this thing. You got and you got my man, what's my man's name? Javon Evans, right?
Who's going to take the best RKO in history next week? He's got it. I'm sure he's got it already in mind. I'm sure that is like, for him, he's like, I got to figure out how to take the best RKO ever.
Look, he looks like, I bet he's like one of them dudes who's like deceptively skinny looking on TV. Like, right? I bet if you were to see this man in person, he looks tall and he has really big shoulders. I bet if you would see this dude in person, you'd be like, oh, this dude's huge. But he looks like skinny. Just imagine if he puts on like 10 more pounds of muscle, kind of like what Swerve did in AEW. Like, right? Get his character and his promo together. Maybe another year or two, you guys are looking for somebody like that next guy that can really go in the ring and has personality. Maybe it's him. Like, the future is
and then
bright.
Don't forget about Ricky Starks. We know Ricky Starks is coming. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be a big one. He's going to be a big one. Yep.
I feel like it's just that right now, like the main event black talent just hasn't arrived in that main roster or is still developing. I think it'll be there soon. And I know for a fact they're not holding these people down. Like, right? I think that Trick Williams on NXT is probably one of the flag bearers for that brand. Like, right? He's like front and center in all the ads. Like, so he's being pushed as that guy. And I absolutely think that once he gets to the main roster, he's going to continue that same heel. So I think we're fine. I think this is much to do about nothing. I don't want people being in positions that just because to throw them a bone. I think that does nothing for us as a culture. Like, right? I don't want to feel like, oh, we're going to give you something because of your skin. I want you to give it to me because I deserve it. Right? And so right now, you look at the matches they've been putting on there, you know, those matches deserve to be where they are.
Well, and the conversation is completely different if they're not being featured on Raw and SmackDown. Yeah. Then this whole thing sounds way different. And actually, I probably wouldn't even be watching WWE. The reason why we feel like WWE is so hot is because everybody's being represented.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's our take. It'd be interesting to see what you guys think. No matter what shade of pigment that you have, let us know what you guys think. We said we don't think it's that big of a deal because it's going to be rectified now. But I do appreciate and respect them getting the word out pretty quick of, hey,
and look,
all
Matt,
right,
Rhodesia, we ain't talked about it yet. I mean, look, we got Cardi B coming. Like, man, like
same thing is the summer. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Right? There is just so much of that like a black wrestler not winning on a PLE is the farthest from my mind when I feel like they are being highlighted.
We're being so represented, man. Yeah. This hip hop, these artists that we're seeing, man. Like, dog, this is a good time to be a black fan of wrestling right now. Like, where you can go on there, man, and it's just great. And if you a fan of the game, look, we getting more and more hairdos in the wrestling games, man. Look, if you a brother and sister in wrestling, you are being represented right now. We good to go right now, y'all. We good.
Let's talk real quick. Bad Blood. Rhodesia, I got it.
Typically, thank you. Because I don't have a card.
Yeah, you ain't got it. You ain't got nothing in front of you. Women's championship match.
I can't access it.
Bayley versus Nia Jax. Do we see a world where Bayley beats Nia Jax?
Yes, just not this world.
No. Here's a better question for you. Do we see a world where Bayley walks out of Bad Blood as champion? I think there's a world where Bayley beats Nia Jax for the championship. But is there a world where Bayley walks out of Allstate Arena or Allstate Center, State Farm in Atlanta as champion?
No and no in this world. Her winning, her walking out, regardless of what Tiffany does or doesn't do, no and no in this world. There is a world, just not this world.
No, not really, man. I kind of feel like I'm more interested in the story between Tiff and Nia. Because I'm wondering, because like you think about the way those two are going, usually you can see like, all right, when in these type of situations, you can see one of them kind of turning, good guy. Like, right? How Nia is abusing the arrogant heel.
Man, when she grabbed her by the face on SmackDown, I was like, yo.
I was like,
this is like Damien and Finn part 2 right here. I ain't know to get excited, to get scared. I didn't know what was happening. It was a lot happening at that time.
I'd have slapped the shit out of Nia. I'd have jumped up and slapped the shit out of her. I'd have slapped it.
For real, right? Like, right? And then you think about it, like in that instance, at least Damian started turning at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right? Nia's not turning. Like, she's nasty heel. Tiffy, nasty heel. So this is the battle of who's the nastier heel. Like, right? So I feel like, and maybe it won't happen on this pay-per-view, but like Tiffy gotta get involved. Maybe she doesn't. But I feel like this match is just a stepping stone into something else. I kind of feel like the Tiffany Stratton Nia Jax dynamic won't be the same with the championship.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I kind of feel like I can't see Bayley winning because I think it takes away from that story, because that's how it's needed to continue that.
Yeah, like Bayley being put in that position, I'm like, damn, we putting Bayley in that position just to lose again. I hate that.
KO.
But I'd rather her take the loss than Naomi.
Sure. Right. So, yep.
And then when they did the business with Nia and Tiffany, I was like, okay, if they wanted to shotgun this quickly at Bad Blood and have Bayley beat Nia and then Tiff cashes in and say, I did it for you, Nia, you could do that. If you wanted to hot shot it and have Tiffany pin Nia, you could do that too. But Triple H has shown he is not hot shotting much of anything. So this story still's got a lot of meat on his bone. I do wonder though, when I did see that part, I was like, are they going to make Tiffany a face? Because when Tiffany cashes in, that place is going to erupt wherever they are. Unless they're in Evansville, Indiana. That crowd was trash on Raw. Don't ever go back there. These shows are premium now. This is limited spots to go to. They deserve, just like Lafayette, Louisiana. Put them over there too. No more shows in Evansville, Indiana. But yeah, I think Nia walks out the champion. Well, I know Bayley's not. I'll say that much.
There we go.
Bayley's not walking out there. It's the champ. A match that I am surprised I don't care much about because they put a lot of time into this. Damian Priest and Finn Balor. This is probably the match I'm least likely looking forward to.
Yeah, I don't think I would say I couldn't care less, but I kind of do because I still like to know what's going to happen after it. I just know that whatever happens, it's not over. So it's just like, okay, this is going to be one more story in their book. So I see what you mean. I agree that this is probably my most looking forward to match.
I see what you're saying, but I'm still very interested in it. I like the story, see where they're going to go with it. I know at the end that Finn's going to lose. Like whenever the end of the story comes, Finn's going to lose. But I do like that Finn is showing more passion every single week. Because I felt like once Damian and Rhea left the Judgment Day, I'm like, man, they just don't have a strong head of that group. I feel like they're all kind of like just like some little, pack of wild dogs, right? But Finn has kind of been stepping up as that de facto type leader, and he's, and then he keeps saying these different things, sound like he's been the snake all along. So they're really putting a lot of heat on him. Like, right? Like, hey, Rhea, I told Dom to get in them pants. I told him to get them draws. How you feel about that? Like, it's like he just, now he's coming out saying that he was behind all the different shady things that's been happening in the group this whole time, right? So they're kind of starting to build him as like this really evil, shady guy. And so eventually Damian Priest is going to overcome him. But I like that they're taking Finn and building him up because Finn's one of my favorite wrestlers. And I like what Damian Priest has been doing.
So do you have Finn winning this match? You said at the end of the day, Finn is going to put Priest over. That doesn't mean he's going to put him over on Saturday. You got Finn beating Priest, or you got Priest beating Finn this Saturday?
I would like Finn to win because if they're going to continue, I feel like you gotta stop beating this man down. Like I still feel like he's coming along stronger, but the group itself still kind of gets the ass whooped, right?
That's why I asked you that.
It's still like
that's why I asked.
It's still 8 of them versus Damian Priest half the damn time, right? And then when they beat his ass, they ain't beating his ass real good. You know what I'm talking about? He ain't getting a real good ass whooping. He getting a little ass whooping. He ain't getting a real good one.
It's the type of ass whoopings that you could come back out in the main event segment if you needed to do
a
run
he can go back
in
and
a
do
match,
wrestling.
or you definitely gonna be back next week. It's one like it ain't one of them where you off TV for a couple of weeks.
No, it ain't one of them. What's my man Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed.
When Killings was gone for for 8 months, and he doing music videos, and he still got his ribs taped. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Look at this man.
You need something like that.
Is
you
a
need
pro.
something like that. And so the reason why I asked that was because Next match is Rhea and Liv. So do you have both Judgment Day members win? Do you have both of them lose? Do you go 1-1? And if you go 1-1, there's a world where I could see Rhea beating Liv. I don't think it's time yet, though. But I feel like I say that kind of a lot. When we do these like preview shows, I'll be like, it's not time yet. And then it's time because they pull the trigger on the show. And you're like, okay, well, cool. I guess it's time. I say that because if you look at this card, so we got Rhea and Liv. Then we got Punk and Drew, which I think there's a 99% chance Punk wins. We got Bloodline, Cody and Roman. I think Cody and Roman win that match. So I say that to say this card, as some of the other ones, seem like it is dummy proof who's going to win. We all believe Bayley's not winning the championship. I didn't give a prediction on Priest and Finn, but it seems like a lot of these matches are pretty clear cut of who's winning and who's losing. So if one of these matches had to be flipped on its head, I don't think it's the last two. I don't think it's the co-mains. I think Punk's winning. I think Cody and Roman's winning. Stamp it. I think Bayley's not winning. Stamp it. It's between the Judgment Day matches. So if you had to pick one where you say like, all right, if we had to go with an upset, it would be this. Is that upset for you, Finn winning, or is that upset for you? Is Liv winning an upset or is Rhea?
That's why I was just about to say, would is considered an upset? I think Finn's gonna win. I think Rhea's gonna win. I think the reason why is because your boy is gonna be dangling in the sky, so he's not gonna be able to do his funky business to affect that match. So I think Rhea is going to win that match, but Finn is going to beat Damian.
Man, the only thing about the Judgment Day feud I don't like the Liv and Rhea interactions because Liv's too little.
You over it?
She's too little. Rhea is whooping on men like 3 times her size, right? So when Liv kind of gets over her physically, it's not believable to me. Like she needs some help. Like I feel like somehow Dominic should get involved more. I feel like Dominic maybe should take the ass whoopings more, and so that way Liv can get the sneaky cuts of the leg and you know what I'm saying, cuts. This something, right? Because like the physicality between the two of them just doesn't make sense when I see it. I have a hard time thinking that Liv can beat Rhea just from that perspective. Unless I can see Dominic maybe getting involved and costing her the championship, but I think ultimately, we know that Rhea is going to win this feud and go on to be the champion as rightfully so. But Liv's doing a great job. If you think that Roman and Cody is going to win, I might got some bad news for you.
Oh boy! So okay, before you get to that, then, if I had to bet, I think Rhea's the underdog. I think Liv wins because Dom is in the shark cage, and I think they still find a way to cheat. I thought when I first saw the stipulation, my first mind went to Raquel Rodriguez coming back. And I don't even know if it's really helping Liv or just going after Rhea. I was like, okay, that could be you're out. But it's not time yet to finish Liv and Rhea. Because when Rhea wins the championship from Liv, I don't want to see a rematch. I want it to be over. So I think it's just not time. And maybe, yes, it's not time. Maybe that's a match that you do at Saudi or Saturday Night's Main Event to put the belt back on Rhea. That's a big spot for her because it will be time to put the belt back on Rhea come Mania season for sure. So with that being said, you think the Bloodline's beating Roman and Cody?
I think you had mentioned it, I think last week. And you were like, Cody said, like, hey, you need to have my back so I can have yours, right? Mm-hmm. And I ultimately thought, even during that dialogue we had, I'm like, I think there's a world where Cody could take the pin. But I thought about it, I'm like, maybe Roman does take that pin. And that's what put some heat on the eventual Solo and Roman match. He can have that pinfall victory over Roman and have those bragging rights, right? And somehow Cody and Roman, maybe Cody wasn't there for him, right? Because some shenanigans happened with KO and Randy or something like that. And then all of a sudden some kind of double team shenanigans, and Solo gets the pin, right? And now he can hold over Roman's head like, look, man, I already beat you once. It ain't up for me to do it again. And that continued to put some steam on the eventual match between Solo and Roman. I think we got to get that match. Like, there's too much build up. There's too much history for us not to get that match on a big PLE. I think we got to get it. And I think if Solo were to lose again, I think it continues to derail that match, because at that point, the problem with the WWE PLEs is that WWE is doing a great job of storytelling. Like, right, when you do a good story, you kind of can see things the way they're supposed to be going because it's clear and it makes sense. Like, right now, it's cool, we can get some shakeup, we can swerve people, but sometimes the clear path story is the right one, because that's the satisfying one. That's the one that makes the most sense. If Solo loses again, if we have Roman and we have Solo at the Saudi show, for instance, or maybe at WrestleMania, do any of us give Solo any fair shake to win that match?
Hell no, we ain't giving no Solo.
Hell no. And he already done lost 3 times. And
we like Solo.
I like Solo a lot. And that also puts holes in his whole theory of, losing has consequences. Well, damn it, Solo, you done lost 3 times in a row, fam. Right? Like, you 0 for 3. You about to be 0 for 4. So going back to tying it up, is that maybe there's a world where something happens. Roman gets pinned by Solo, puts heat on him in the eventual match.
I said I wasn't going to judge Blood Day. Lord have mercy.
Blood Day is crazy.
I said I wasn't going to ever book Bloodline stories like winning and losing, but I think Solo's going to lose again. Damn. If I had to say, because I think they need to tell that story so then Jacob or whomever can finally say, you know what, this ain't it, Chief, either. Like, you ain't the Chief. So we got to figure something out. And that can start and jumpstart the demise of him being in Bloodline 2.0. But again, I don't want to book it.
Yeah, no, right. Because if we are getting Rock, Cody, and Mania, it's Jacob and Roman. That's the match for Roman. It is. So you got to make it big. And at that point, which I'm already excited for that match. Out of all the matches right now we possibly could have, Jacob and Roman, that is the match where I am like, yeah, give me that. I am here for that already. And they haven't even started building toward it, right? They haven't even really done anything toward that, but that's the match I'm here for. I think that they have to, it's got to be Solo. Solo's the one. I really don't think you don't pin Cody. You don't pin Roman, especially if this is because what Cody said about there's going to be the video package during Bad Blood that shows title implications. We'll see what that video package is. But that is what I would think and say. I also think the Bloodline versus Bloodline is not happening at Survivor Series. It feels like there was a pivot done a few weeks ago. And maybe this is connected to, even though they're saying he's okay, maybe this was connected to the Rikishi tweet about Jimmy, prayers for Jimmy. But it feels like the story now is KO, Orton, Cody, and Roman. Now, if we get those 4 against the other Bloodline, okay, maybe. But as we talked about last week, you got to speed through a story. And at this point, I don't even want Bloodline versus Bloodline. I don't. Unless something can happen, from Bad Blood to Saudi to when we get to Survivor Series, I feel like we would be cheated out of the moments that we should be getting with Jimmy coming back. And then Jay, them going to Raw to talk Jay into it, and Jay blowing them off for weeks on end. I'm good. I'm straight. Roman coming back to Jay and having that conversation, I'm still good, until they finally embrace. Like, I just feel like if we're needing it to do all that in 6 weeks to get the Bloodline versus Bloodline matches of Survivor Series, I'm straight. No thanks.
I wish we wasn't held to having this War Games. I kind of feel like I wish they didn't say that it was a War Games and it was a traditional Survivor Series, which is still probably a 5-on-5. But I feel like it's easier to tell this story right now with like a 4-on-4 or something like that, or even the 3-on-3. But
and you could do it. You could do it.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, nobody would. Yeah, nobody would trip on that.
What do you mean, do a war games with that many little people?
You could. I mean, not 3-on-3, but you get away with doing 4-on-4. Cody had released a couple days ago on Twitter, maybe yesterday, his calendar for October, and he has 2 Raw dates on there: October 21st and October 28th. And I said, Cody heading to a couple Raw shows, huh? And our girl Brittany said, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's maybe for Crown Jewel Survivor Series prep. And then my guy Will Lewis, what's up, Will Lewis? Will be like off and on. Sometimes Will be on Twitter, then sometimes he completely not on Twitter ever. So shout out to Will. He said could be that he might be recruiting Jay and Sammy for War Games. And when I first saw it, I was like, man, hell no. And the more I thought about it, I was like, actually, that would make a lot of sense. Maybe that is the case. Because then the story would then flip to Cody's story of KO, my friend, has left me for making the decision to tag with Roman. Maybe something happens with Orton where now he's on the outs with me. Look, Yeet, I need you. Sammy, I'm the one that talked you into being good enough to take on the, bloodline 2 years ago where you and KO was tag champs because it took forever for me to get you guys to reunite. Remember, Cody was the one that got them the team 2 years ago against the Usos. I was like, maybe that's the story. When I watch it be, he only works damn dark matches on those two nights, and he don't even show up on TV. But they got us talking. I'm excited. But yeah, I think Bloodline vs. Bloodline is probably next. It's over. And then main event, Drew and Punk. Anybody thinking? Now, Punk's going to be bleeding probably more than we've seen blood on WWE TV since the Attitude Era. I do believe that. I believe he's going to be a mess. But I also believe he's going to win, of course.
I think the only winners of that match is going to be us, the fans, because I think they are going to kill each other in that ring. At the end of the day, on the scorebooks, I think Punk will win. I think he'll take the victory, but I think they both are going to lose just because, like you said, they're going to kill each other, and we as the fans will win.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely going to be a really good match. It's going to be a violent match. I'm excited to see what they do with it because, oftentimes some of these matches, just for me as a fan, I feel like they go a little too far and with some of the violence in these matches. But I feel like it's going to be a little, these are grizzled veterans, right? I feel like it's going to be done smart, the right way, and I guess maybe as safe as it can be. I feel like it's still going to be a dangerous, bloody, nasty match. But at this point, this match needs to be that, right? It's one of them things where, man, this is one of the old saying, when they go in the cell, they don't come back the same. Like, right? It kind of fits.
Our boy JR used to say, it takes years off your career.
Takes years off your career.
Yeah, no. So, last question. Is there a world? Like I asked about Bayley, I started it with a Bayley question, is there a world? I'm going to end it with, is there a world, with a Punk Drew question. Is there a world where we actually get a handshake between them two at the end of this match?
Maybe not your proverbial handshake, but maybe a metaphoric handshake. Maybe. There's a world. That could be this world.
Not at the end of this match. I can see maybe, because this is too personal for both of them, right? Especially for Punk at this point. Like, right? And even if he wins, they're like, all right, Drew, I beat your ass. I made you bloody. Let's shake hands. Like, I don't see either one of them after this match, especially with adrenaline pumping, that they're going to shake hands afterwards. Now, can I see a world where maybe sooner than later I see a handshake or something like that? Sure, but not at the end of this match. It wouldn't be fitting either. Like, right, you can't go from hating somebody to making each other bleed.
Ooh, see, I think you can, man. I think that's when you do it. Like when it was Hangman and Swerve, I felt like I felt like they could have shook hands for sure. No. And I think because it's so violent, because you took me to that limit like nobody else has. You shake hands and then we don't ever talk about it again, because they're gonna have to figure something out though. Because remember, we speculated a few weeks ago, do they add the loser leaves town step where, hey, whoever loses, you guys have been killing our show. other person's got to go to SmackDown. They never added that. The hate doesn't change unless there's some love somewhere. So I don't care how much they destroy each other, unless there is a period put on this with either a handshake or you guys got to separate. What's going to happen for us not to think next Monday or Raw or 2 weeks from now they still aren't beefed out?
That's why I said I could see a metaphoric handshake. I could see them. The match is over. They're both laying there. They look at each other, not as distinct like how Roman kind of nodded Cody when he returned. Not like that, but I mean, it'd be something very subtle, like just, like that. Just one of those. I could see an exhale from the both of them because, like you said, I got it out. I can't do anything else to you other than kill you, and now I'm doing time than what I just did to you here tonight, and that'll be vice versa.
Here you go. Here you go. Now I got one for you. How about this one? Match is over. Look, they're both bloody, right? They've lost pints of blood. Never gonna be the same again. This match,
they on their back shaking hands?
Yeah, hold on.
Golly.
They hold hands on the stretcher, each individual stretcher, going up the ramp.
Get this
book it
in this podcast, goddammit. This is this
book it, baby.
End of the era, right? When they put their hands up.
Hell, exactly. Same thing.
Hold their hands right there.
Same thing. End of an era.
Man. This is
and
why
then you got AJ Lee come out.
This is why Tony Khan and Mark don't need to be booking shows, man.
And then you have AJ Lee come out. Man, I'm like 92% on my booking percentages. That's not going to happen, but that would be great. That would be fun. I guess that is it. We ain't got nothing else to talk about, right? We talked about Bad Blood. We talked about NXT. We talked about Cody. We talked about AEW. Yeah, that's it. That's all. There's nothing more to hit. Next week, we'll be back. Should have a special guest on the podcast. Somebody that's actually going to be in the building at Bad Blood. So you're not going to want to miss next week's show. So we'll have that. Who else knows we haven't even watched AEW. Who knows what happened on AEW? So I'm big excited to talk about that. I am sure there's going to be much more news coming out surrounding the contract and maybe some details on that. And there's always full news weekends whenever there is a WPLE. So we'll talk about that. And we'll be able to talk about week 2 of NXT also next week, which I do believe we get Motor City Machine Guns at the end of the tag match in St. Louis. No need to have them in Chicago. The show was loaded enough. Put them on for week 2. All right, so there you go. That is it. Did I plug the socials yet? I don't think I did.
Nope.
So Twitter,
still had a fun fact.
Oh, what fun fact you got?
Completely just overshot.
What you got?
We were talking about music, NXT, themes. Believe it or not, I know you know this, Matt. Fun fact for me, I became a Billie Eilish fan on one of the first takeovers. It was You Should See Me in the Crown. And that song went so hard. And ever since then, I was a Billie Eilish fan. But I just thought about, we're talking about the music at NXT. And I'm like, yeah. So there you go.
NXT always had bangers as theme songs. Their theme songs, particularly
it gives me goosebumps
on takeovers.
It's the takeovers, yep.
Yeah, buddy.
They were it.
Yep.
So
all right, you got anything else?
The handles. No.
All right. That's F&W on Twitter. Too bad. YouTube, that's Freakin Wrestling. Let's hope there's no hurricanes in Atlanta, so the YouTube video goes up in the next 24 hours. And Instagram, we're there. I'm going to put a video up this week on Instagram. Eric, I'm doing it just for you. Eric's the only reason why I plug Instagram. He's the only reason. So follow us on Instagram too. Damn it. And we'll be there. That's it. We are out of here. Love you guys. We will see you next week on the next one. Peace.